Upon hearing people talk about Africa, most people envision images of poverty, mud huts, and shanty towns. This, however, is not the case for many regions in Africa. I myself was born in South Africa, more specifically, Pretoria, South Africa. Pretoria is a very modern city that features an amazing skyline, a great modern infrastructure, and amazing purple flowers that bloom throughout the streets. As a young child, Pretoria was the perfect home for me. I viewed it through my naivety, as many children view their homelands. I didn't see any of the flaws or faults. Growing up there, I was always taught that family is the most important thing in life. Your family will get you through, be it your brothers, your parents, your grandparents, or your cousins. They will always help you out, regardless of where you are, regardless of what you need. So, in 2009, when my parents broke the news to us that we were moving to Canada, I was very confused, as I didn't even know where Canada was. At age 10, my geography was atrocious. The only places I had been were Namibia, Botswana, and Zimbabwe, which are just north of South Africa, and I didn't even know Canada existed. So when my parents told me we were moving 16,000 kilometers away from home, it felt like a punch in the face. I didn't know what to do. I was overcome with feelings of grief and anguish at the prospect of having to leave my family behind. I had grown up so close to them, and now they just wouldn't be a part of my life anymore. I felt defeated. Having to leave your family behind is a very difficult concept to understand as a 10-year-old. I remember being very angry at my parents for removing us from our home, taking us from what we knew. The reason they removed us from South Africa is opportunity. South Africa is a very divided nation at the moment, and there isn't many opportunities for someone like me. This is an unfortunate reality, and my parents knew that this would happen, so they decided in order to give us the best fighting chance we could for our futures, they had to remove us from South Africa. Immigration isn't a new thing. It's been around since the dawn of civilization. People looking for the grass being greener on the other side. So, much like many other immigrants, we came to Canada with hopes of a better life. The time just flew by from when my parents broke the news to us to when we actually moved. A myriad of goodbyes to friends and family, having to pack up our house and put it on a ship so it could come over here. It was a very busy time in my life. When we finally got to Canada, I had to assess myself, take a look at who I was, and recreate my personality in order to fit in at school. This was a choice I made actively because I didn't want to be an outsider. There were many obstacles I had to face in order to recreate myself and in order to fit in with my friends. Luckily for me, language was not a barrier. This was important because I could connect with people through the language they spoke. For most people, language is a barrier when they immigrate into a new country. I remember thinking that I didn't want to lose my language, my culture, or my heritage in recreating myself. So, with the help of my family, I was able to retain my native tongue, Afrikaans, and keep all of my heritage and my culture while still being able to adapt myself into Canadian lifestyle. Without family, this would have been a much harder transition for me to do. I am very thankful for my family every day of my life. Having to assess myself and change myself has caused a chasm through my sense of self. The part of me that I knew growing up to the 10-year-old in South Africa, and the part of me now before you, having lived in Canada for 8 years. 8 years is a pretty long time, yet I do not feel comfortable calling Canada my home yet. Nor do I feel like South Africa is my home anymore. This is something that many immigrants face as a challenge because they lose an idea of where home is. For me personally, I consider myself a citizen of the world. One of the opportunities I have in living here in Canada is I have been fortunate enough to travel abroad frequently. And I've had many opportunities to see that around the world, everyone is basically the same. So therefore, I choose to identify as a citizen of the world. As a 10-year-old, I didn't understand my parents' sacrifice in bringing us to Canada. They gave up way more than me and my two brothers did in order to provide us with a better future. Today, I realize the amount that they gave up in order for us to have a better life, and I will be thankful for them for the rest of my life. I'm often asked if I miss South Africa, and I used to not have an answer. Now, my answer is as follows. I miss the idealistic South Africa of my youth, but I would not want to live there as things stand right now. Understanding an immigrant such as myself's worldview is imperative to being an accepting and welcoming nation, and I implore you all to become more welcoming through my story. Thank you very much.